In today's video, I want to show you exactly how I trade IPOs, how I identify continuation, and my dip buy signals and alerts. So let's hit it. Today we traded two IPOs, and that's why I wanted to make this video. First one I saw pop up on my scanner was WENA, and the other one was AIEV. So let me just go ahead and show you how I drew the targets, even before I show you the trades that we took on those, because targets are the most important thing. Being an IPO, first thing I do is I go to the daily chart, and in this case, there was no data. When I saw it, it was already above the previous high. How do you draw targets for something that's never been this high before? When I saw it, it was at 5:58 this morning. It was already at $4.21, and the previous high was this line right here, $2.75. So pre-market, it had already broke that, and it was in the process of proving that level as support. So what I did was I used my predictive target tool, and I teach my members how to use this tool to predict next levels. So we use the previous levels to predict, right? So we use that tool. We got our lines using this level here and this level here, and it put the rest of these lines on here. It put this line, it put this 421 line, and it put this 567 line. But above 421 is going to be scary because I had proven that as resistance this morning. During pre-market right here, it started to do that right when I posted the trade plan for it. So it's going to be hard to trade this one being an IPO, showing this resistance. It's going to need a serious setup above this level for it to continue, even to the all new high that it made at opening bell. You've got to know what's going on with the chart when you're doing this, because this is an IPO. It has no data. It has nothing to go by. So anyway, first things first, guys, we're drawing targets. I just showed you how we drew our targets for WENA. We could not use the daily chart. So in this case, you can use the 4-hour chart to get those levels. You just do the swing high and the swing low, and it puts the rest of these targets on here. So let me go to AIEV was the other stock that we did. This is where I posted the trade plan for it. It was at 6:08 this morning on this yellow bar. I used the pre-market levels to get these lines on here. It's hard to trust target lines, these predictive target lines with an IPO. But after you put the lines on here, and if you see how it's treating these levels, found this level here, found it again over here. So this is a good line, this $2.54 line. And by the time I posted this, it hadn't gone to this $2.93 yet. So what I was looking for here, let me just go ahead and tell you how I traded this one, was I looked for a cross down here in this tool that I have developed. This is a tool I developed a long time ago. I haven't shown it to you guys yet, but the signal is this green line crossing above this red line. That's a signal. That's a buy signal. As long as everything up here makes sense. And everything up here, what you need is, you don't want your white line, this white stop line, right? This is the moving average, this white stop line. You don't want it to be pointing down, and you don't really want it to be flat. By the time we had the signal, it was starting to point up. And ideally, you would like your 50 pointing up. You don't want it flat. So when you get that and you have green candles and everything, go to your next target. I stayed with it through this previous level, this $2.54. And I was shooting for a $2.93 target. It made it actually to my thicker target of 333. I didn't get out there, I got out here. That was a good little trade. And then once it's hit a target, we know it's going to pull back and it's going to need to find support. Here we started to see our lines flattening out, right, below a previous target. So that means it's going to have to go down to the next EMA and try to find support, or the previous target level, which was that 254. And it was finding that as support, right? It was not wanting to fall below it or close below it. And so here we had a signal again. We had some crossing here. I didn't get in there because we hadn't really resolved our EMAs. If you look at that, price was struggling with the EMA, so I didn't get in there, but I did get in on this little yellow arrow, which is also in the tool that I give you. This little yellow arrow right before opening bell, plus this cross, right? So there was a confirmation. This arrow was acting like a confirmation for this cross. So that I was very confident. I'm above my EMAs, and I stayed with it, and I did get out here at 373. So getting in at 268, another $1 per share on that little trade. The first trade was essentially a dip buy. You can use this tool down here to help you with dip buys. This was a continuation signal, basically. That was a dip buy. Now let me show you how I trade these dip buys. I didn't do much with WENA, and here's why. Because at opening bell, the opportunity that it had to prove the 50 EMA as support, it failed completely, and it went all the way down to the 200. It actually failed at the 200, but then we started to see this curl in this lower tool that I give you, right? Started to curl up. I know I've got all of this heavy overhead resistance, the 50 white stop loss, right? And the 9 and everything. I was going to have to resolve all of these, the 200, everything. So it had to resolve that. So I waited for it to resolve. And so that took me to over here, and we had a cross of the green and the red. That's a strong signal, but it has to make sense on your chart. This little blue dashed horizontal line, I just put in after the fact. It wasn't in here yet. It was just one I manually drew after it reached my target, because I was trying to see, well, does it make sense? That's what that's all about. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. But here we didn't have any lines. I was just waiting for the signal here above all of my EMAs. And that's when I knew, hey, I can get in here. I'm going to use my 200 as my stop loss, right? Use my or you could have used your swing low, but I was using my 200. In other words, if price turned around on me and sold down and closed below the 200, I would get out there. That's a very tight stop loss, almost zero risk right there. So getting in there makes perfectly good sense. Getting in at $2.80. My target was $4.20, 40-cent profit trade. And I got out there, and then, like I said, I drew this line, and what that line was where my white stop loss over here during pre-market, it flattened out, and it matched these candles more or less over here. See that? So if I put my cursor, you can see where everything flattened out here. So I knew that that was going to be a level. It's a support resistance level. Price did not know what to do with this. So I knew that I couldn't really get in there. We were close to this target, which was also resistance. Do you see that? So much resistance there. What I needed was a signal of continuation above this 421. I didn't get that at all. Every chance that it got to prove the 50, it would fail when it hit this level. So we're going to see that probably again over here. It's going to need to prove this area, this choppy area, which is, let me just draw a box so you can see what I'm talking about. There's some choppiness right here, right there. And do you see how it's rejecting that level? So anyway, that's how you can do dip buys, right? Dip buys, you're looking for a higher low and ideally above your EMAs. If it makes sense to trade below your EMAs, because you can use your EMA as a target, you can do that. On this one, it doesn't make sense in this case, but if it had made sense to get in there and take it to your EMA, then you could get out there. Or you can take it to this previous level, right? But it's pretty much your EMA anyway. But when you're seeing flattening out of EMAs, that's weakness. No matter how you look at it, that's weakness. So I tend to lose interest when I see that, except for in this case, I had room above my EMAs to this target for a 40-cent trade. So that's how I'm trading IPOs. That's how I draw my predictive target lines. They work really well. But again, once you're above a target, it's going to have to prove these continuation levels. And in this case, we didn't have it on WENA, AIEV. It did. It continued a little bit for us. It gave us some really good trades. We had a flattening out of the 50 EMA here, but then things started to set up above that. And so that's why we were able to take that. So now you know how we draw our targets. We use a predictive target tool for these IPOs. I don't normally use it on a normal stock that's not an IPO. As you know, we draw our targets using our other tool, which is really fantastic. But an IPO is a different animal altogether, and you need some special tools for that. So our predictive target tool is what we're going to use for that. So that's how we draw our targets, and this is our identification of continuation. See, it's working on proving that as resistance right now as we speak. But that's how you take dip buys. You're looking for a higher low. So in this case, you could have gone above your EMAs right here and taken it to here. This is the first time you could have traded. It was above the EMA and taken it to here. Now it's showing 254 as resistance. So we need to set up above this one, but we'll probably get it at some point. I don't know when. I don't try to predict that. I just look at what the chart is telling me. I'll be posting this algo set for you in the members area if you would like it. And if any of you are watching this and you need a little extra help with your trades, and if you'd like these special algos, and if you'd like me to teach you and mentor you on how to get these targets, especially for an IPO, very few people are able to trade these successfully, but we are able to because we have this little predictive target tool that I teach you how to use and I give to you. So again, crossovers down here in the lower above the EMAs. Watch out for those flattening of the lines here because that's weakness. All right. And that's how we're doing it. I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, let me know and we will talk soon.